Hello everybody, I got my Pasta Fagiole started. So this is the hickory smoked bacon that I start with, and some olive oil. So I start with that, I render the fat out of it. Okay, I'm going to get all the fat rendered out of that because next is going to be my mise en place, which will be the mirepoix, which is the onion, celery, and carrot. And once the onion is translucent, I will add the garlic with a little bit of olive oil. I'll cook the garlic for about 30 seconds or so, and then I'll add some tomato paste. So that's what we got there. Once I get all that going and the garlic's jumping, everything, I'm going to add the stock. Actually, I'm going to put the ham bone in next. I actually have another ham bone in the fridge. So that goes in after all this is cooked up, after the onions are transparent, translucent, whatever. And then I'm going to add the stock, so broth. Well, this is chicken broth, so I'm going to add enough broth to cover the ham bone. And I'll add the tomatoes with that. And then I'll add all the seasonings and spices once it's going. So I'll stir it all in. Right here we got the ground thyme and the granulated garlic. I have parsley and Italian seasoning. I have the sea salt there, freshly ground sea salt, and freshly ground peppercorns. And as you can see, that's pretty much all of it. Once that's all cooking for about 45 minutes or so, I will add the Great Northern white beans. Are canned with about 1/3 of the juice from 2 cans there. And then I got about 1/3 of the juice of the Italian kidney beans. It's the white kidney beans, the cannellinis. And I'll bring it to a boil, like I said, and simmer it for about 45 minutes. We got the Parmesan cheese there too, can't forget that. That's at the end. Simmer for about 45 minutes. We'll pull that ham bone out, and the meat will be falling off of it. It'll go good with the bacon. And then I'll have my pasta already cooked off, the ditalini. I like to use the ditalini, it's Italian. So we'll have that cooked off, and I'll add that per bowl. So that way it doesn't get mushy in there and it doesn't grow and all that. So that's about it, and we'll see you guys on Act 2 when I start stirring in the seasonings. Thank you. So here I've rendered up about all the fat from the hickory smoked bacon, and I put in my mirepoix, and I bought those crates like that. That's fine. And I also added my bay leaves. And don't worry about the fat and the olive oil here, because we're going to mix that in, and later as it simmers, we're going to skim it off the top. So we're going to add that. I'm going to cook this off for about 5 or 6 minutes until those onions are transparent. And I'll see you on Act 3. So this is Act 3. This is looking delicious. Here I've got the onions transparent. And notice I did add the bay leaves early because it takes a long time to extract flavor out of the bay leaves. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my minced garlic. It's a couple tablespoons. That's mixed with some of the olive oil there. And I added a little bit of salt and pepper. You got to be careful with that because the ham's already salty, and if you add too much too early, as you reduce your soup and it thickens up a little and you gather these flavors, the salt is going to be overwhelming. The earlier you add the salt, the more overwhelming the flavor is going to be. So right there we got the garlic, just, until it dances a little bit, it's actually about ready. Because the next step of the garlic, after the garlic, mind you, will be just a couple of tablespoons of this tomato paste. And I like to use the tubed, and it's hard to use too much really. But we're really going to fry the heck out of that tomato paste. So, I don't know, maybe for about 8 minutes, not too high of a flame. We'll see you on Act 4. Okay guys, so we're getting a nice aroma out of that tomato paste with the garlic. All the flavors are melding. I mean, it smells delicious. It's a good start. It's a good base. And next I'm going to add the ham bone. So what we do is we just drop it in like that with the ham on it. And we're going to add enough chicken broth or stock. I actually prefer stock, but I have broth here, and I'm going to use it. I'm not going to waste it until the ham bone is actually covered up completely. And if I don't have enough broth, I have the bouillon, the wet kind, that I'll add to this with a little water. But we just got to make sure that ham bone's covered. I actually have a 1/3 chicken broth too, to be honest with you. So we're going to add that. And we add the tomatoes as well. And the beans go on last because they're canned and they're already cooked. And you know what? Getting the canned beans, it just saves a lot of time. So that's just about going to do it actually with the tomatoes. Yeah, that should be perfect. So yeah, that's looking good. I'll add a little bit of water and maybe a teaspoon of the this stuff here. That's good stuff. Because I don't want to open an entire thing of chicken broth or stock just for that little bit. So now I'm going to raise the flame a little bit here and start adding the spices and seasonings. There's the salt and pepper I showed you earlier. Here's the parsley and Italian seasoning. This is the Italian seasoning I like to use. I got that for $2 at Sprouts. It's usually like $8. Here's about a heaping teaspoon of thyme, ground thyme, and granulated garlic. We're going to save the red pepper flakes for the bowl. We're going to save the pasta for the bowl. And we're going to add the Parmesan cheese at the very end, and we'll use that in the bowl as well. And this here, I'm going to save, I don't know, about the last 20 minutes. I'll have this all chopped up and add that in. Because, I mean, that's going to give off a lot of flavor anyway you look at it. And then, of course, the beans, those go in last as well. So that's what we got. And see you on Act 5. Okay, everybody, so this is looking pretty dang good and it's smelling better. Gonna give it a quick stir, just check things out. Oh yeah, that's a good base for a pasta fagiole. Just put that there. And I'm gonna add that rosemary now. Now this is living rosemary and it really doesn't take much. So we're adding that. I'm gonna go ahead and stir that in. I only got 2 hands, guys. And then I'm going to go ahead and set this timer here for about another 45 minutes. And start it. I'm going to cover this up, bring it down to a simmer. About like that. And I'll see you in 45.